name is Liz Partsch,
And I am Paul Rowley,
and welcome to Farm and Dairy's Weekly Rundown.
where we will be giving you another rundown of the week's top stories in the farm and dairy.
Yes, and this is actually a combined podcast
It
or
is.
weekly rundown. So we'll be covering two issues, and
Yeah.
we're considering it our holiday issue. Woo! Holidays! They have come. Yeah. Yeah, the holidays
Don't you
have
just
come.
love that audience?
I know, right? They
Listen.
really really support us here at Farm and Dairy.
Thank you.
But yeah, so
Electronic audience.
yeah. Exciting stuff for you guys.
Yeah.
So Paul, would you like to kick us off?
Sure thing. I'd be happy to. So here's what I've got. Okay. So I actually have spent a little bit of time I guess learning about and understanding a bit about ham radio. And I'm gonna explain what ham radio
And this is in the
means.
December Christmas issue.
The 25th,
Yeah.
yes.
Cool.
So on your doorsteps or in your mailboxes on the 25th, hopefully on the 25th, you should be getting this paper. So when the pandemic, everyone remembers the pandemic, exposed how vulnerable her family was living on their isolated Ohio homestead with spotty internet, unreliable cell service, and very far distances between neighbors. Polly Givens started thinking about what would happen if everything went dark. So she turned to amateur radio because she wanted some means of communication between her and the outside world, just to be able to talk to anyone, especially at that time when everything seemed to be falling apart. And so she quickly moved through the ranks and earned her amateur extra license 2 years ago. She joined a local club where the camaraderie and the mentorship helped her navigate this world of electronics that she had been completely unfamiliar with when she began this journey. Polly is a registered nurse, and so she talked about how like approaching amateur radio, she had to learn the vocabulary. And so I actually pulled a quote from the article that I thought really illustrated kind of like where her mindset was when she like began this process of learning everything. She said, "I had to learn the vocabulary first. You know, it would be like if you didn't know anything about medicine and then all of a sudden they threw you in the hospital." And so it was like a real education for her to like understand the moving bits and pieces and the call signs and like how the technology is supposed to work. Now, with the call sign W8PIK, which was actually her late father-in-law's call sign. When you're on the radio and you get a call sign, you say, "This is W8PIK. Like, anyone there? Over." And like it's like that.
Yeah.
I hope that was an adequate enough.
It's like your name
Yeah,
as a radio.
right.
Yeah.
So she operates from her 500-acre homestead property, which has a mix of like hardwoods, livestock, and homesteading projects. And she keeps multiple radios on hand, from handheld UHF and VHF units for local communication to high-frequency rigs that are capable of reaching Belgium at dawn, which she actually did one time.
Oh, cool.
Which is like really cool. Across the country, from rural farms and small towns to like emergency shelters, radio clubs, and even the International Space Station, the one and only ISS above. Amateur radio, often called ham radio in reference to old slang for an operator who has poor or heavy-handed keying styles, connect people without relying on the internet, cell towers, power grids, any of that.
Wow.
Blending technical skill with public service and community.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it was really, really cool. Really interesting story. The American Radio Relay League, or ARRL, this is the National Organization for Amateur Radio. They count about 160,000 members among their base, exploring communications, technology, and global connection. It's a really interesting and very vital, honestly, organization of people that are really passionate. Which I got to talk to a few of them, including an organizer in Pennsylvania. So that was really neat. The organization ARRL coordinates licensing. They work very closely with the Federal Communications Commission, and they train volunteers who step in when conventional communication systems fail. Which is kind of like a main part of everything that they do, because their catchphrase, as that organizer I just referred to a minute ago explained to me, their role is to step up when all else fails. Like if the sky falls and all of our, infrastructure that keeps us connected, keeps us the power on and the lights working and the internet on and all that. If all of that ends, you can get on a radio and make contact with someone else, and that's like very critical in like times of emergency. Radio is also powerful enough to connect a small Midwestern city, as I learned, to the farthest reaches of human exploration. So, this was also another fascinating component of the story. On October 25th of this year, as the International Space Station streaked across the sky 265 miles above Terre Haute, Indiana, at 17,000 miles an hour, cruising speed. No, I'm just kidding. Students spoke live via microphone over radio to astronaut Michael Finke, which was
Oh,
he was
yeah, you
really
tell
there.
yeah.
So cool. I think that is the coolest thing I've ever heard.
That is super cool.
Like, it's never mind, like, hearing an astronaut speak like at a lecture or something is like already the coolest thing. But like the fact that he was on board the station.
Yeah, it's cool that it can, like, connect you from so far away.
I'm actually dying. Like I have so much.
Yeah.
It's so cool. There was not a malfunction. My words are just so anyway. And he had views when he was talking to them. He was describing like what is outside his window. I think that was one of the students' questions for him. Like, what are you seeing? And he said that his views stretched across North America. He could see the Pacific and the Atlantic Ocean simultaneously.
Wow.
Which is like, oh my
Yeah,
God.
that's
that is
super
so
cool.
And he got to answer all these questions and about these group that was gathered at the Terre Haute Children's Museum. And he answered questions about like exercise in space, what is most challenging about life aboard the ISS. Their expedition that they were just on was actually like I think one of the longest ever. It was like a record expedition. And other questions. So there's a lot that I wrote about this, and there's more about that component as well as some other folks that I talked to in the amateur radio community. So definitely take a look at that on the front page of the December 25th paper.
Awesome.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Kind of sounds like an important skill to pick up,
Yeah.
honestly, because we're so reliant on the internet nowadays.
So
Like,
much.
what happens if it crashes? How
Yeah.
do you get in contact with people and your loved ones?
Right.
If you don't have reception or Wi-Fi. So,
Right.
yeah, interesting. It
Yeah.
sounds like COVID. You may have helped people realize a lot of, I guess, problems in our modern society.
Yeah. Yeah.
And our reliance on that.
Most def.
Well, anyways, I'm going to pivot to a more sad story. I got a
Gotcha.
sad story for us
Okay.
here. For our January 1st issue, I wrote about the unfortunate death of 2 workers who succumbed to their injuries from an orphan well explosion near Wayne National Forest in August. The explosion occurred at the Farnsworth No. 1 well in Washington County, Ohio on August 25th. According to an investigation report conducted by the Ohio Department of Natural Resources in November, the explosion was caused by a kick, which is a rapid influx of natural gas and crude oil into the well.
Wow.
Which caused a blowout of natural gas and oil onto the surface of the well, igniting and engulfing the entire well site in flames.
Wow.
The agency suspects a diesel engine from a water truck on site was the ignition source for what resulted in the huge explosion. So in total, 6 workers were injured. That includes an ODNR worker who was released from the hospital the day of the explosion, 3 workers from Monroe Drilling, and 2 workers from Formation Cementing. 1 worker from Formation Cementing, Chris Starkey, died on October 3rd. And most recently, a worker from Monroe Drilling, Chris Pinkerton, died on December 14th.
Oh, that's so sad.
Yeah. Pinkerton was 48 years old and from Woodsfield, Ohio. He loved hiking and camping. Starkey was 42 years old and was from Zanesville. In his obituary, he was said to be a wonderful husband, a father, a very proud girl dad.
Wow.
Yeah, so really sad.
Yeah.
Sad and unfortunate event to have happened.
Yeah.
The story does include more details about the explosion and I guess what some folks in the industry are how they're going to be adapting for these dangerous, clearly some of these dangerous conditions
Right.
In the future
Yeah.
that happen at orphan wells. So you can check out the story on in the paper, the January 1st paper, or online. And I don't know. Stay safe. Try to be happy. But
Yeah.
rest in peace to those workers who unfortunately lost their lives. So
Yeah. These are tough stories to write when people get hurt or injured or pass away because of.
It's sad. Yeah.
So that's really rough.
Not my favorite to write about.
Nor.
I don't think anybody's favorite. So.
Nor.
Nor.
Nar.
Um, all right.
Well,
Well, Paul, what are you going to uplift us
okay,
once again, please?
I guess I'll try. So I actually also I wrote something else for the issue of the 25th. I have like no notes about it that are in front of me, so we're gonna wing it. So anyway, here's like the backstory. Um, so should I start with the backstory? I guess I'll start with the backstory, and it's not gonna make any sense until I start or I keep talking. So we're just gonna go with that. But anyway, in like August of this year of 2025, I was in my friend's backyard. He just bought this new house. And I was sitting there and we were eating dinner on his back patio when he has like a chain link fence that's like pretty short going around his property, his backyard. And the next door neighbor like waved us over and wanted to introduce himself because I was a new face and he just obviously had met my friend not that long before. So he was like, oh, come check out what I'm doing in my yard. So we, walked over to the fence and hey, how's it going? And so this neighbor said that he is he buys storage units. Like, in like the A&E show, like I think it's Storage Wars. I think that's the show name. So he's like one of those guys. So he like will buy the contents of storage units at auction and then he will sell the items inside and that is like how he makes his living. And so there's like stuff all over his yard and like in his house. Like you could see like in the windows of like I think it was his garage. Like there's stuff like covering the windows. Like it's like he's got inventory is
Yeah.
what he's got. So that's how kind of my friend explained it to me later. So anyway, he had all these boxes in his yard, and he was like, "I have from my latest storage unit that I bought. I have all these like Christmas decorations and like ornaments, and I don't want them. And if you do not take them, I'm going to throw them away." And I was like, well, like, what do you have?
Mhm.
What am I, what? Like,
Yeah,
I was,
piqued the interest.
right. I was like, I was not expecting to go home with anything. So I was like, wait, what? And he goes, yeah, it's like a lot of like old stuff and it's just like family stuff from some family. And a lot of it is like, it was like Peanuts, like the Charles Schultz characters, like
Mhm.
from the Peanuts world comic and show and all of that. And he's like, it's collectible stuff, but like, I don't have time to find the people who like, I'm just going to throw it away if you don't take it right now. Right now.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. So I ended up with four or five boxes of stuff that just lived in the trunk of my car because like as soon as my friend helped me carry it to my car, and as soon as it was all in there, like I didn't really feel comfortable with the whole situation. Like I didn't want any of this stuff really. And then I was like, oh, like ugh. It felt kind of like icky and not correct. And I just was like, okay, well, and then finally, like weeks and weeks go by, and I ended up going through the ornaments in my car, and like the boxes were really like waterlogged and dirty, and like a lot of the stuff inside, a lot of the items were like broken and not in great condition. And so I got like a trash bag and I was like cleaning out stuff. Like I was like trying to find where there's a lot of those like I don't remember what they're called, but like the glass like kind of see-through ornaments, like they were broken. So there's like a lot of broken glass. But there was a lot of stuff that was salvageable and was like in good condition. I kind of dusted it off and I was like, oh, this is like really nice. So there's a lot of like vintage 1980s and earlier ornaments, a lot of stuff that's like dated for this one family. And it was really, really, clearly like a lot of like family keepsake ornaments, which I was like, this is someone's things, and now I have it. And I love going thrift shopping and like that kind of thing, but this is different. So anyway, I ended up like not loving that I had these items, and a couple more months go by, and now it's December, and I'm thinking like, what do I do with all of these things that I have? And I had known that there was actually an address. There was like a return address on one of the boxes that these things all came in, and I kind of had assumed that this person like it wouldn't have been much of a good lead if I wanted to find them again to like return their things to them. But I was like, I just gave it a try anyway. And so I Googled and I found out that the person whose name was on the box, he had passed away a couple of years ago. And I just kind of kept thinking like, well, maybe like if he has like a relative or a child or someone who might actually want these things because they really like don't belong on my Christmas tree or like deck
Yeah.
around.
They're personal. They're
They're
family stuff.
yeah, so I was like, I think I'm just gonna see if these people might want these things. If it's like bad blood and they don't, then I have, boxes full of ornaments, but which I guess is cool. But I kind of wanted to know that. Like I wanted to know that like they didn't want these things, and I kind of had a feeling in my gut that they very much did and didn't know where they were. So I was like, I have to try to give these things back to these people. So I found eventually someone who was listed as a survivor in an obituary because I kept going to like obituary, 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 and I found someone. I checked her Facebook page, this person's, to see if they if they were still posting actively and like in recent times, and they were. And so I called her, and she lives in Arizona, and I called her, and she actually answered the phone, the first call, and I explained the whole situation to her, like how I got her things and her family's things rather, and like that I was not trying to sell them back to her, that I would mail them to her if she wanted. And so she asked for photos of the things that I had, and I had some on my phone. I was actually like slacking you guys like
Mhm.
some pictures of the, like, look at this.
Yeah.
And so she called me back after she got those pictures, and she was like in tears,
Oh,
and she
that's
was
so
like,
sweet.
"That's my family stuff," and like she
Mhm.
explained the whole backstory about like why they ended up, uh, I guess, parting with these things, and how they ended up in a storage unit that they had no record. Like it was a kind of a convoluted, very sad tale involving like a family member that kind of went awry, and so long story short, they thought they had lost these things forever because they were taken from them after their elderly parents passed away, and so I we made an arrangement with another sibling of theirs who lives in Ohio, to pick these things up. And so I met them in a public setting, in a public place, and gave them boxes of the stuff that was left that was like salvageable. And that is the cover of the auction section in the 25th
Yeah.
issue.
Aw.
So the story of what happened,
Wow.
which is most of that, but there's like some extra flourishes and details, and then what happened after. So you can check
Wow.
that out if you want. There's pictures as well. There's a couple of pictures of the things that I recovered from the storage unit from the boxes. So
Yeah. Wow, that sounds like a really sweet story.
yeah, it's called A Tale of a Lost Christmas.
Yeah.
So
Love it.
check it out.
Yeah, check it out, everyone.
Yeah.
Well, Paul, in other news, toes are shockingly fascinating.
Is that right?
Yeah, and our Curious Kids article in the January 1st issue brings this overlooked body part, or parts, I shall say,
Ah.
into the spotlight. So, as most people know, chimpanzees are our closest genetic relative,
Hmm.
sharing about 98.8% of our DNA.
Oh.
Wild.
Yeah.
But unlike humans, chimpanzees can do much more with their feet,
Mm.
than we humans can.
Yeah.
For example, picking up fruit and feeding themselves with their feet. We also can't move our toes individually, which I didn't even know before reading this story.
Yeah.
So why, you may ask?
Mm.
Well, that's because of evolution, basically.
Yeah.
As our lineage started walking on two legs, human feet had to adapt in order to help us stay balanced as we walk upright. And individual toe function really just became less important
Oh.
as a function.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, our hands became more important and better at moving on their own individually.
Hmm.
See, individually moving fingers. Look at that, crazy. So while both hands and feet have similar anatomy, they function differently, obviously, as we were talking about. So according to the story, most of the muscles in your feet or in your foot let you point your toes down or roll inward or outward to keep your balance to keep your balance on uneven ground. Why was that so hard to say? On uneven ground. So that's like the primary function, right? The big toe is especially important as it helps push your body forward when you walk and has extra muscles for its movement. This is the only toe that has its own muscles, which I found interesting.
That's cool.
And let me tell you, I can attest from experience that the big toe is very important. Because actually, roughly a year ago, so it was actually the 2nd of January last year,
Oh,
or this
almost the
year. Yeah,
anniversary is coming
the
up.
anniversary is coming up. I dropped a humongous radiator on my big toe. It really pissed me off. And this is like how I started off my year, among other things. So I was angry. Especially because I thought I broke my toe. And
Oh,
I
God.
had a bloody toenail, and it's
Oh.
disgusting. It looked disgusting for 7 months. It took me 7 months for my toe to look normal again.
Yeah.
So, and yeah, it was really hard to walk for days.
Ah.
And also, my toe looked disgusting. So I can attest that the big toe is really important
Mhm.
because just by injuring it, I found it difficult to walk for like at least a week or two
Yeah.
after that happened.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
anyways, I guess I'm encouraging you to read The Curious Kids or I'm encouraging you to be careful when you walk around space
Yeah, that
heaters
too.
because I still have that same space heater in the same exact position in my room, and I definitely walk differently in my room after that
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah.
I actually think
Oh,
there is a dent in the wood in my bedroom from where I dropped it.
wow.
Yeah. So, anyways, be careful around space heaters.
Mm.
They hurt when they drop. And also read The Curious Kids because it actually has some really cool information about toes, which somehow are fascinating.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
go check it out in the January 1st issue.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, cool.
What's that song? It's like knees
Knees
and
and
toes,
toes.
like that one.
Yeah, yeah.
Head,
Head, shoulders,
shoulders,
knees
knees and
and
toes. Yeah,
toes, knees
yeah.
and toes.
That's the segue song for
Eyes
the.
and ears
Yeah,
and
that's right.
mouth and
Hey,
nose.
hey.
Head, shoulder, knees and toes, knees and toes.
Perfect. That was so good.
Thanks.
Excellent.
Happy holidays, guys. That
Yeah.
was a Christmas carol for you
Yeah, there
about
we
toes.
go. That's so good.
Awesome.
Okay. Well, no one can get enough of the story right now. I think this is like the biggest story on our Facebook page currently, as of December 23rd. The Michigan Department of Natural Resources has confirmed a rare and historic sighting. Okay. An adult cougar traveling with
Wow.
2 kittens in the Upper Peninsula, which is like basically Canada, but still the Michigan.
US, yeah.
Yeah, marking the first verified case of cougar reproduction in Michigan in more than 100 years, and possibly, because people have been sounding off about this, it is possibly the first sighting of a cougar east of the Mississippi River, like in all time,
Wow.
perhaps.
That's
Is that big of
wild.
a deal? Although everyone in the comments under this article have weighed in and they've all said that they've seen cougars in like Florida and like other places. So
Hmm.
like I don't know. I don't know what the truth
Yeah.
is. I'm just a messenger. So anyway, a trail camera photo taken on December 6th in central Ontonagon. I can't pronounce anything. Ontonagon County.
Yeah.
Shows an adult cougar walking down a snowy trail. This photo is on the Facebook page of Farm and Dairy and the website, by the way, for those of you who would like to see it. Walking down a snowy trail, this cougar followed closely by 2 juvenile cats. The photo has reassured wildlife experts after months of uncertainty because apparently they had another like earlier sighting of these 2 juvenile cats in like March, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but it might be March. Alone, and which greatly concerned wildlife experts, biologists, all of whom. But now the 3 of them are together. So yeah, early March when they last saw these 2 kittens. They were estimated in early March to only be about 2 months old. At the time, their mother was not seen, raising concerns among biologists about whether the young cougars would survive on their own. It was like, but they're all together now, which is great news for folks who are rooting for the cougars. I can't tell if people are rooting for the Cougars. I think they are for the most part. They seem to fascinate many people. Brian Rowell, also don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but I hope I am. The DNR's large carnivore specialist over there in Michigan said in a press release that the new photo suggests the kittens not only survived their first year, but have remained with their mother, which is a critical factor in their chances of long-term survival. The newly verified photo was submitted by a private landowner and reviewed by the DNR's Cougar team, which enhanced the nighttime image, cool enhancing photo technology, to confirm that these 3 separate animals were present. The sex of the kittens remains unknown. We're just like happy for them, I guess, though.
Yeah.
Good luck to the family. According to DNR, in recent years, numerous cougar sighting reports have been received from various locations across Michigan, with many confirmed cougar sightings since 2008. According to research in the journal PLOS 1, transient young male cougars are expanding their range, dispersing across the United States from their core western population, like where they are from, and may reestablish like cougar communities. Well, they don't really have communities, but like numbers in the upper Great Lakes region, which could pose ecological, social, and political impacts that will require effective management. Side note, just because I'm just feeling silly, but I actually used to live in Washington State before I came to Ohio and Farm and Dairy. But I was walking home one night. I lived on a rural island outside Seattle, and which there would actually be instances of cougars swimming from the mainland when the water
That's
was
wild.
shallow enough. Yeah, they would swim. There was a point where the island and the mainland were not very far apart. And when like the water, like when the tide was out and like at certain parts in like the winter time, the cougars might swim to the island, and then that would be like their whole territory. And so there'd be cougar sightings like all over town on this island where I lived on. And anyway, I was walking home. It was nighttime, and I heard something very, very large, like just behind the tree line. No street lights, no, I couldn't see anything. It was pitch black. But I was just walking in the direction towards my house, and I heard something like run away, like galloping. And I was always like, I think that was the cougar because there were cougar sightings at that time a couple years ago. And I was like, that, what
Yeah.
else was that?
Wow.
It was
Close
just,
encounter.
yeah. I didn't confirm with my eyes, and obviously I'm not a wildlife expert, but in any event, so that was my little cougar experience. According to the press release, cougar sightings have increased in Michigan each year since 2019. There are links in the article if you want to see like the cougar photo page or a dashboard for more information. So,
Yeah. Awesome.
there you
Wow.
go.
Who knew? Cougars.
They're just here now.
Yeah.
We walk the earth with cougars. So,
Cool.
yeah.
Well, Farm and Dairy, we're going to be doing something a little different, and we're going to kick off with.
Is this the last one of these for the year?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh my God. Dancing our way into 2026.
For real.
That's how I'll be doing it.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, we are gonna do a little, I guess, year-end review. We've written lots of stories this year. And yeah, I just want to know, Paul,
Yeah.
what are some of your favorite stories that you wrote this year?
I wrote a little, here's like a little list because I could not narrow it down to one.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna start and like go back a little bit. And I think like I don't know about you, but like the farther I get away from some of the stories that were my favorite, the more I really appreciate them for
Mhm.
like the experience that I had like writing it and reporting and doing all of that. So like I feel like there's gonna be stories that I've written in the past like couple of months that like I'll in retrospect later I'll be like, oh, that was like cool to work on that. Like the ham radio one was pretty cool, but I need some more distance, I think, from it to be like to But anyway, so I'm gonna go back to October and then kind of back there. So I wrote a story about Zor Village in Ohio, and it was a ghost tour that I went on, which I like wanted to do, and I got to talk to someone that investigates the paranormal, and it was just like really neat. It was just like a really
Yeah,
cool
that's
thing.
fun.
There was a story that I reported on in Cecil, Ohio, about a wetland project there that is reclaiming farmland to work as a wetland, which is all efforts to mitigate pollution in Lake Erie. I love stuff like that. I love reporting on that kind of thing, which is really cool. And I also really appreciated my lead here, and I'm going to read my lead because I was like really proud of it. So, along a quiet country road near an old cemetery where more neighbors rest below ground than live above, a once overworked farm field is being given a second life. I love that. That's so
yeah,
fun.
I love it.
I think I got better at writing leads this year than I have I used to really struggle with leads,
Yeah.
and I've been working on it really hard. I also had to chase covered wagons through Columbiana
I remember
County
that,
in
yeah.
July, and I was like, I wasn't sure where they were, but like I knew they were going to be there from a Facebook post, and I was like desperately trying to find them, and I did eventually find their camp, and it all worked out. But I was like driving through like these picturesque, very hilly, kind of narrow roads, like looking like I was pulling over, and I was thinking like, oh, is that like a wagon wheel track? Like, am I on their? Am I getting close to them? So that was just a fun thing that I did in the summer. And then what else did I do? I went on a farm tour in Macomb, Ohio, to multiple farms of folks that are working to like integrate like best management practices, for example, on their farms to help with like runoff and reducing that. And it was a really cool like event, and I enjoyed reporting on it. But I just have to say that that night after the farm tour, I became violently sick, like
Oh,
just
man.
violently ill. And I'm like trying to write this article, and it was just I fell apart. I've never vomited more in my life than I did in the ensuing 24 hours after I went on this farm tour. I don't know if it was norovirus or like food poisoning. Like I don't know what happened,
Wow.
but I completely like unraveled.
Yeah.
I've never been that sick in my life. Oh my God, I couldn't believe it. But then there was, before that though, I was doing really, I had McGee Marsh made a visit to there, to that beautiful place in May. It's a birding hotspot during the summer in May, where more than 300 species of birds from South America make a stop along their great migration. So fascinating! These beautiful, colorful birds. I highly recommend any of you check that out in 2026. I also got to visit. This was a favorite. End of the Commons. It's a general store in Mesopotamia, where time stands still, and it was just like a really cool, fun place with a whole bunch of stuff going on, and they were really, really delicious. I forget what the little pies, little fried
Oh, hand
pies.
pies. Yeah.
Yeah, the hand pies, so good. So that's just a little sampling of some of my faves
Yeah.
from this year.
Very versatile
Yeah, it was a lot of things
range
this
you.
year.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Cool. Awesome.
yeah,
Well,
let's hear it.
yeah, I also obviously I'm gonna narrow it down to just a few.
Yeah,
Definitely two of my favorites. They were more personal stories. I think that's why they were my favorites.
yeah,
The first one was one I wrote about my family's tradition
yeah,
of making maple syrup.
yeah,
This story was really fun just because, yeah, I mean, I got to talk to a lot of my extended relatives about what it was like growing up, on my family's farm in Johnstown, Pennsylvania,
yeah,
and my dad was one of those that I talked to for the story.
yeah.
Just how what they did as kids. They had a sugar shack, or they called it the sugar camp back in the woods.
Mm.
And this was really special because as a kid, I was obsessed with this.
Yeah.
I've always been obsessed with this sugar shack. I always walk back to it when I'm at my grandma's because I just find somewhat of a connection to this place.
Mhm.
So being able to dig into what it would have been like to make maple syrup back then, something that I always dreamed about doing as a kid that I
Yeah.
never really will probably ever get to do at the Sugar Shack,
Mhm.
was really fun. And at the same time that I was, writing about the history of it, my dad and we were also making maple syrup together for the first time in a while since I was a kid, um, with our neighbor. So that was really fun too, because then I also got the experience of doing and making maple syrup, which we thought last year was going to be our last year, but exciting news is we're probably going to do it again this year, one
Yay!
last
That's
time.
great.
Yeah,
Cool.
so that was just a really fun story. And then the other personal story I'd say that was my favorite was I got to cover the Century Farm Awards. I got to see my family
Oh, nice.
farm get the Century Award, which is 100 years of the same farm being in the same family.
Mhm.
And yeah, I mean, it was really special because I first covered the Century Awards 2 years ago at the Penn State Ag Progress Days. That was my first experience
Nice.
at this type of ceremony. And from that day, I remember dreaming of what it would be like to watch my family receive that recognition.
Yeah.
So to be able to not only see that, but then be able to write about my family was really special.
Yeah.
And then seeing also some of my older grandparents who were like 89 years old, able to get that recognition. And just in general, even if my family's not there, I always love writing about these awards because you have these farmers and generational farmers talk about all of these hardships, and it really just is such a testament to what farmers have to go through every single day. It is just
Yeah.
such a beautiful ceremony.
Yeah.
So I always love covering those ceremonies. I think it is such an important
Yeah.
recognition that the Pennsylvania gives farmers.
Yeah.
So those are my two favorites. Two other ones that I think stick out a lot. It's actually one I just recently wrote about the Ohio Veterans Alliance for Medical Cannabis.
All right. Yeah.
I
That's
really
a neat one.
I really enjoyed that story.
Yeah.
Because as cannabis has become legal recreationally in Ohio, it's been really interesting to follow
Yeah.
just how that's been developing, and especially for people who use it medically for healing. And Daryl Leffingwell, who is the person I talked to in this story, just about how important it has become for veterans
Yeah.
to heal with cannabis, which has also helped them stray away from opioids, which is
Yeah.
like very addictive and
Right.
has led to a lot of overdoses in veterans and everybody.
Yeah.
So that was just like, I really enjoyed that story.
Right.
And then I also really enjoyed, just for the whole fun of it, I wrote a story about a blacksmithing conference, and I
Oh, I
was able
remember
to
that.
yeah, and I was able to
Yeah.
attend this conference, and it was really cool because I got to see this woman make a bunch of stuff, like a
Yeah.
spatula and wielding fire,
That's
and I
so
got to
cool.
take really cool pictures because if you know me, I love to take photos.
Yeah.
So that was really cool, and then just like seeing her in action and learning about how to do
Yeah.
this, I almost walked away wanting to become a blacksmith.
Yeah, right.
And in general, these people were also like super nice, and just wanted to talk to me. And I love, meeting people that are so passionate about
Yeah.
what they do, and learning from them, and welcoming. So I would say, I read a lot of good stories, but I think those are some of the ones that stick out. So
Nice. Wow. Good year.
it
Yeah.
really was. Yeah.
Wow.
Awesome. Well, I'll play our little send off. And that was Paul and I dancing into 2026
Yeah, we did.
because next episode will be the next year.
Yeah. Wow.
So, yeah. Well, that is our top stories for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
And to read more, you know the drill. Go to farmanddarrett.com or find your local newsstand.
Yeah. And thanks for tuning in, guys. And we will see you next year.
Happy New Year.